Hey. How's it hanging? Now, Sport and I, we've never really gotten along. Like, at all. You can see videos of me mountain biking and playing baseball and whatever this is. Wow. But we just don't get along. And I'm sorry for that, Sport. It's not you. Is me. My main sport, however, which I find proper sweet, is skiing. Because sometimes the skis and I get along.
Yay!
And sometimes we don't.
Oh!
Obviously from that, you can tell that Sport and I have a complicated relationship. Like, dude, I was never good enough to be in the teams at school. I was never good enough to do it outside of school and never bothered. And frankly, after school stopped being mandatory, so did Sport. I'll do it from time to time, sure. I'm not anti-sport. Me, anti-sport. As if. But growing up, I found numerous ways to get my literal sports level up. I played it in video games. And that's not to be mistaken with games. I mean, who says you can't be sporty by playing video games apart from everyone?
As it turns out, sports-based games are actually the shit right now. Games like Gran Turismo, the WWE series, Cars, and FIFA are just a few examples of the sports genre and its domination over the market. With their annual releases, regular DLC, and young, naive, impressionable fan bases, what are you doing? Realistic sports titles are, as my housemate would put it, popping off.
Bar a few exceptions, sports games weren't really my thing either. A surprise that will come to no one. However, one did stand out from the crowd, one that me and my younger brother used to spend hours and hours on. Well, I say we've. It was me. I've been trying to track this thing down for years now, and just the other week, I made a miraculous discovery. Sharks piss out their skin. Also, I found the game I was looking for. Now be warned, this one hasn't aged well, and I will explain why. Just put your initial judgments at rest, because this game, much like most of the lockdown protesters, is fucking ancient.
For those of you who haven't heard of this nostalgic masterpiece, which is likely most of you since it came out in 1995, this is ESPN Extreme Sports, a PlayStation 1 title, as you can very clearly tell. In fact, it was one of the first titles available for the console, so that'll date it. However, its early release on the PS1 was in reality the only reason it sold well at all. Yes, it was the biggest selling Sony published game worldwide upon its release, and that is quite the accolade, but that's what happens when you come out alongside a brand new home console.
Now that's not to say it's a bad game, of course not. It's worse than that. But regardless, this game has shaped my childhood and has turned me into the diabolical, frankly offensive sports person I am today. So let's have a look.
ESPN Extreme Sports, also known as One Extreme, also known as 90s The Game, was a fairly crappy sporting classic that arguably helped propel the PlayStation into the big leagues of home consoles. Back in the day, the 6th generation had just come into play, and Sony were very much the newcomers into the industry. This generation featured high-powered microprocessors and dedicated graphics processors that enabled extremely realistic graphics and gameplay. For the time. Home systems like the Sega Saturn were already in play, releasing in May of the same year, and the Nintendo 64 was to release in 1996, although Nintendo's classics like the SNES were clear signs that they did in fact have the high ground. It's over, Anakin! It was a time where home consoles were becoming the norm, and the PS1 very much cemented Sony's position in that normality, and it clearly worked, seeing as we're getting the fucking PS5 by the end of the year.
Sony's consoles were and still are the bomb, and I've been tight with those lads ever since, even if their consoles do have me tripping. A lot. What? What is going on? I can't believe I'm gonna have to do this. Oh no. Oh, thank God for that. Regardless, ESPN Extreme Sports was alright. That title is too long to say all the time throughout this thing. I'm just going to call it Extreme. That's about as 90s as it gets. Regardless, Extreme was one of the earliest releases for the console, and while it doesn't look too fresh now, back in the day, it was pretty dope.
Extreme featured 4 different sports to participate and race in, including skateboarding, rollerblading, street luge, and mountain biking. The general aim of the game is to just race, and nothing else. The tracks start at one end of the location and progress along a linear path to another point of the same location. There are a number of well-known cities and spaces to race in, such as San Francisco, Lake Tahoe, Utah, Italy, all of South America, and that's it.
Yeah, there's not a lot of correlation between these 5 different areas. Plus, why would anyone want to go to Utah? I mean, what are you going to go and see there? Incest? Oh wait, wrong state.
Within these races, you compete with other skaters, lugers, bikers and bladers for cash, as well as first place. Obstacles such as tyres, jumps, barrels and barriers will appear in your way to knock you down, as well as numerous coloured rings that act as a score of some sorts. Moreover, a round known as the cash course will turn up every once in a while, where the rings equate to a certain amount of money, so these are good to boost your finances.
Sounds like a fairly standard racer from that description, doesn't it? Well, hold your conceptual horses for now, because there is a slight twist. But it is a juicy one.
Extreme allows you to attack other racers, and it's hilarious. Players can kick and punch from their vehicles in an attempt to, well, to put it lightly, kill the mofos around you. This mechanic was actually key to you winning, so utilising violence was a central feature in most races. However, the AI had the power to beat you up too, so it's best to watch out for them, and the obstacles, and everything else. Regardless, these frankly minimal number of mechanics has found Extreme being regularly affiliated with another racing game, Road Rash, an EA racing game released on the Sega Genesis in 1991. This game, much like Extreme, was centered around a series of road races throughout California while using a combination of fists and blunt weapons to hinder the other racers. See the resemblance?
These comparisons even made their way into the graphics of both games, since even though Road Rage's graphics are considerably worse due to the power of the PS1, the setting, character design, and general layout of the games were considered really similar. But I don't see that. Of course not!
The graphics in Extreme are sprite-based, and decent at best for the time, sometimes even kind of fugly. Because of that, it fails to show off the amazing capabilities of the PlayStation's modern graphics engine. Surprising, considering Extreme was one of the flagship launches for the machine. Moreover, settings and location-wise, the courses themselves are fairly uninspired, with no discernible features. It's clearly not the best-looking racing game in the world. It doesn't have the best gameplay, the best AI, the best anything, really. But it's also not the worst, no. That goes to Big Rigs Over the Road Racing, a game with less detail than this sentence.
Like I said from the start, this game isn't much, like, at all. But when I was younger, this stuff was wicked. Whether it's 1995 or this indie disaster film we call 2020, sports games are some of the most popular on the market. And you don't have to look far in gaming history to see that. From the throne of games like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, all the way down to the disgusting ghettos of Ashes Cricket 2013. Don't look that one up. It's terrible. We can clearly observe the popularity that these games hold. As much as it doesn't really hold up now, Extreme proves that regardless of the kind of content in it, sports games are just inherently good fun. Sure, it's a tad clunky and, in a word, bad, but it takes me back to the 90s. A much better time than now. Much better.
They've been described as hornets from hell.
The worst attack we've ever had on our country.
We are the owners of this state.
Good morning all, N-Screen Nitalics here, just putting in a little word before this ends. No bloopers or mistakes this time. Well, unless you count me. Just a little note to say that if I've released this on the right day, I should have turned 20. So, I am a man now. And yes, you should be worried. My birthday message back to you is just a thank you for sticking by all this. I know this channel has gone through quite a lot of change, and it's not the most competent content. Rhyming! But I really hope you enjoy all this stuff. I really like making it. It's just brilliant. I love all this kind of stuff. There should be an even bigger project on the way. It's probably going to be my most extreme and my most ambitious one yet. So I'm very excited. It's going to take quite a while, but I'm hoping that I just want to get it right. I want to do what I'm doing justice, and hopefully it will come out and be my best one yet. So thanks again. I am a 20-year-old. Do be scared. And everyone stay safe. Now, for all of you patient people who have waited right until the end, here is a video of me sneezing mid-recording. Sorry, I'm allergic to the 90s.